Hello, my name's Starfy. I'm a speedrunner for Battlefront 2, and while I'm working on a bigger video covering a big tutorial on everything Galactic Conquest, for the purposes of the relay race coming up soon, and just to help get resources out there finally, I'm going to showcase the main glitches that are used for the Board Manip category, as well as just some general stuff about Galactic Conquest to help with speedrunning it, or even for casually if you want to try out some of these tricks. You'll have something to mess around with. Now, a very important caveat when it comes to this is I'm going to be focused on the Steam PC version of Battlefront 2. So not the Classic Collection or the console releases. Now, all of these glitches still work on every version of the game with the exception of one trick that I'll bring up, and for Classic Collection's case, you have to use a controller for this mode. Otherwise, none of these tricks work. And for every bind I mention, for every trick every little thing I mention is gonna be as if I'm inputting it from the Steam version. So, but whatever your console equivalent is, that's what you would do. So, to start off, for escape is pause, as usual, and the arrow keys can also control where you're going on the menu as well, if you so wish. At W and S. Enter confirms your movement or whatever you buy. Arrow keys will also like move you throughout this menu. So do A and D, but I prefer using arrow keys personally. This is right next to the enter key, which I'll use to match through buying stuff, for example. Another bind is tab, which we use it for one specific trick, but it's also, if you prefer manually with the tab button instead of clicking on it, you can do this as well. So, but both whatever tricks we're gonna talk about later, both work with either clicking or tab, so it's purely for your own comfort. And that's about it for specific binds. Now, for zooming in and out, it's different between versions as well. The scroll wheel will let you zoom in and out easily. You can also zoom in and out with the W and S as well. Depends on your comfort zone, depending on how you want to zoom in and out, but this is going to be very important. For console, it's typically going to be R2 or L2 for zooming in and out, or RT and LT. For the original Xbox release, it's probably going to be something like LB, RB, and such, because for the original Xbox version, due to these different binds for that version of the game. And I think that's pretty much all the binds that are really important. But you want to learn these binds, especially on the PC version, to help get in the flow of doing these tricks I want to discuss. For a lot of the resources, for all the save files and stuff to use, pop in your save file folder to make it easier to load up the start of a speedrun for a specific start. You can find them on speedrun.com as well. All the resources will be linked in the description for all the cool stuff we use. And now let's talk about the actual tricks. First, we're talking about AI manip. This is a very simple concept. We're just abusing saving and loading to manipulate the AI to go where you want them to go. So, for example, the Empire is sitting on, let me start fresh real quick. Okay, we'll start here. So we're starting on Hoth. Empire starting on Endor. But what we want the Empire to do is, essentially, you want them to move down a space, right? Down towards Coruscant, and we'll bounce them back and forth. How we're going to do that is simply, we're going to quickly reload the save. And what we will do is save. And you'll want to have a save file that's marked as like a easy reach file, like the A, for example. Separate from my starting file. And so that way I can just easily smash through it. So how the menu would look is like this. I hit enter, just skip right on through. Hitting enter is probably the fastest way to do this menuing. And now we're just gonna load that file. And that's how we manipulate, so we can AI did what we want them to do, but we can just reload. Very simple concept. for the AI Manip. Now let's go start talking about the actual tricks we want to talk about. This is the real meat of the category. We're going to start off by covering the free move. Free move does exactly what it sounds like. It allows us to freely move around the board as we please without taking up our turn. And this, on every version of the game, it's very easy to do. This is why having a specific menuing for yourself is very important for your own comfort for doing this fast. First, we're going to hit enter or confirm where we're moving. And then we're going to quickly zoom in. Then we're going to pause. We're going to save over that A file. And then we're going to load it. And there we go. That is the free move. So if you want to get an idea how fast it can go, do something like this. And now I might go over here. It's a very important meat modes of this category and just this mode in general for the board manip category, and because that's where we can use all these tricks to manipulate the board. And getting a good rhythm for how to do this is very important for getting better at this game mode and speedrunning. And also having understanding of how the auto-pathing works as well. The game will sometimes automatically choose your next pathing for you. You can sometimes influence this by putting up or down from where you want to go. So if you want to go Mustafar, for example, you go up when loading in, or down to go to Mutapal, but it's not consistent. Some maps, like for the CIS, for example, from Yavin 4 to Felucia, for whatever reason, it will continue to go backwards towards that star all the way back here. And so it doesn't really work that way. So a very important thing to keep in mind. So learning where you can autopath freely and where you have to stop and like change where you're moving is very important. So with that, that's the first important trick. Next, we're going to talk about the proxy. So let me quickly get into position here. It's going to take me a moment. We're going to go to Dagobah and Naboo. You see how we own Dagobah right now, right? Now we're going to talk about the proxies. So there are two variations of the proxy that are important to the speedrun. There's one banned one that I'll briefly mention, in case you find something that, oh, this is so cool. We would already know about it, but it's banned for a very specific reason. But we're talking about the two that are allowed for this category. The first one is the zoom proxy. So you remember how we did free move? It's kind of a similar concept. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit enter. Make sure we have a bonus first. We're going to hit enter. And then we're going to attack the planet, but then zoom in and out quickly. Just one more time. We're going to hit enter and zoom in and out quickly. And now you'll notice on this map screen, we're supposed to be attacking Naboo, but it says we're on Dagobah. So if we attack Dagobah right now, and just for the sake of speed, for brevity, I'm going to just quit out. You'll see that Naboo is highlighted here. That is the proxy, and this is a zoom variation. It allows us to play one planet for another, but as the name suggests, the planets have to be in close proximity to each other, right next to each other. So this trick only is utilized in specific spots in the run for each faction. So I would watch the speedruns for the board manip category to get an idea where we utilize these. This is a very powerful trick. Now let's talk about the other variation. This one's less powerful, and this variation of proxy, called the tab proxy, is only doable on the PC version of the game on Steam or GOG. You can't do this on any other version of the game. But all this version of the trick really does is just a bit of convenient menuing for you in very specific instances. It's not particularly powerful, and the zoom proxy is what you're going to be doing 90% of the time anyway. So it's not really important. The concept of this proxy is simply you hit enter, and then you either click on the bonus and unit screen, or you hit your tab button. So like this button here. And if you want to get to save on menuing, you can just buy one of your bonuses while on the screen, and then hit move. You'll notice that I'm attacking the boo now, and my cursor's pointing up. I'm not gonna attack because that'll cause me to soft lock. But this variation of the proxy lets me attack the next planet. But while we're gonna play the boo, and let's just say if Coruscant was above us, we'd be beating Coruscant doing this. Now again, this version of the trick is a lot less powerful because it's not really utilized a lot, and it has a little finicky workings, and just uses Zoom Proxy. But it's useful in a couple instances. I will watch some runs of like CIS, for example, to get an idea of where Zoom Proxy, the tab proxy would be useful. That's a less powerful version. I wouldn't worry too much about it, especially if you're on the console or Classic Collection. But for this release of the game, the Steam GOG version, it's good to keep this in mind. For certain spots, like for example, Clone Wars, where you have Coruscant and Megiddo right next to each other, you can play Coruscant instead of Megiddo, and just beat Coruscant twice, which is a much easier and better map than Megiddo. And that's that is the tab proxy. That's both variations of the proxy that are allowed in speedrun. There's one banned one common to Omni proxy. This is banned in speedrun due to how overpowered it is. But essentially, if you get the idea from the Omni proxy name, it allows us to play any one map to beat any map on the board. And all that really requires us to do is just click attack and just mash on whatever planet we want to do. I probably didn't do it correctly. It's a little tricky to do it correctly. I did it correctly. You see, I just played Coruscant from Naboo. This is such an overpowered trick, since this implies that you can do something like play Hoth for any map on the board, which is a notoriously very easy map for the Rebels and the Empire, particularly the Rebels. But you can also do a map like Sheik or Coruscant, specifically for the the CIS and the Rebels. Super powerful. It's banned. It does have its own special category on the category extensions if you want to goof around with this. If you want to goof around with this casually, you can mess with it as well, but this trick is banned. So the Omni proxy is banned, but the other two variations are good to go. The tab proxy and the Zoom proxy. Zoom proxy is the most support one to learn, but the tab proxy is pretty useful. Now there's one more trick to cover that I want to cover for this. Free move, we did proxies. Now we're going to talk about the blockade. So blockading means two different things, but they do essentially the same thing. You're able to take their turn. Perfect. So here's what the blockade does. So we're going to do exactly what we do normally for free moving. You don't have to learn anything different. It's just you do a free move on top of a planet or the enemy fleet. So if we're gonna do this on top of the enemy fleet, we're gonna save and load. We can't select this fleet anymore. And the enemy team can't use this fleet either. And the game treats it as both fleets being destroyed, and so you notice I don't have to spend any credits, I can just buy another fleet. A caveat to this trick is that if you accidentally move onto that space where these two fleets are locked in, or the AI moves to it, it can engage in a space battle. If you try to cancel it out, the fleet would be freed. So be very careful about where these are, where you do the blockades, so you don't accidentally go onto that space and then have to reset your blockade and everything. That could be an issue for you. But this is a very powerful trick that we take a strong advantage of late into a lot of the speedruns for Board Manip. You'll see us take advantage of blockades to keep the enemy fleet from ever doing an attack. A blockade means another thing as well. Same concept, we free move on top of an enemy planet. And what this does is prevents the enemy team from ever being able to build there. So for specific instances, for very specific setups, it could be useful to know this, for example, where if you wanted to set up on the CIS, you want to attack Naboo, Dagobah with Naboo, right? And because we beat Dagobah with Naboo, we're still sitting on top of Naboo, and we beat Dagobah, so we have Dagobah now. So the AI now just lost 2 planets they could build on if they don't have a fleet. And so the AI late in the game would be forced to build on Tatooine. It can be pretty useful to keep this knowledge in the back of your mind whenever you're doing a run, especially of the bigger category, all scenarios, or just casually. So you know, like, okay, if I build here, if I sit on top of this planet here, and the enemy fleet they try to buy a fleet, they can't build here. So it's very powerful to take advantage of this. But typically, when we're talking about blockading, is about the enemy fleet, blockading their fleet to keep them from using it. And so they also can build a free fleet, by the way. And that's basically all. That's all the tricks here. There's a bunch of band stuff as well that's important that can be important to talk about, but for the basics, this is all you need. So I hope this is all helpful. Again, there will be a bigger tutorial down the line when I get around to fully finishing it that'll cover all of this and a lot more. But for right now, I hope this was helpful in learning. Hope I just talked about these pretty well, and I hope you have a good night, or good day or night. Bye-bye.